This is War Room Moments, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and most relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. War Room Moments is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board. Here's your host, Jason Miller.
Hey, welcome to the War Room today. I have a wonderful pleasure today of having someone that came into my life just not that long ago and has such a passion and a great mission for life. And as I always like to say, I am horrible at introducing people, and I never give people the right justice that they could have. So if you could just take a couple of 30 seconds and just tell people who you are and what your superpower is.
Hey, well, thank you, Jason, for having me on your show. My name
Yes.
is Michelle Elizabeth Williams. I am a serial entrepreneur. I am a mother. I'm a wife. I have a business called Nava Sportswear, which includes like bedding wear, clothing wear, sportswear. I have a book entitled Nobody Ever Told Me. I have a business where I take in children and we groom the children. It's raising great men for society. We take in young men and we turn their lives around, and then we let them go out into society and live. Basically, I am every woman, as they say, it's all in me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know you have your passions run really deep. And
Yes.
and I think if anything comes out of this conversation today,
Yes.
people are going to see that for
Yeah.
sure, no doubt about that. But kicking the show off here, I always like to ask, did you come from a family of entrepreneurs yourself?
Kind of yes and kind of no. So basically, my father was in the service. He
Mm-hmm.
served 20 years. So
Mm-hmm.
when he got out, it was like he was kind of thrown to, what is it now that you like to do? So I saw my father just do all these different jobs, all these different things that made me kind of feel like, well, if he can do that, I can do that. So my mother, more of an enabler, she took care of him while he took care of business.
Yeah, interesting. Did you have
Mm.
were you a lemonade stand kid?
Say that again. A
Were you
lemonade stand?
Yeah. Did you have a lemonade stand?
No, not at all.
No.
Basically, what I would do is I would just read a lot of books so
Uh-huh.
I could learn. Now, here's my thing. While some kids were selling lemonade, I was learning how to speak with proper diction. I
Mm.
was learning how to write my name for some odd reason, not knowing I was ever going to write a book. Some odd reason, I always wanted to know how to write in cursive like the doctors or like the teachers. And that was my mission, because when I grew up, it wasn't in my home, because my mother only had a fifth grade education level, and
Mhm.
my father was the real intelligent one, but he was an alcoholic. So I didn't catch much in between both of them. So I had to learn these little desires on my own. So basically, I was doing a lot of reading and I was doing a lot of writing.
Yeah.
No lemonade stand here.
Should have been running a book stand.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's interesting though when you talk about high performers, and I can always seem to make this connection to a couple of places. Either if it wasn't somebody in their family was entrepreneurial, then
Right.
it can be connected back into two other things with almost every show I've ever done. And
Mhm.
that is there was a military tie or a sports tie. One of those.
Mm,
So one of those three things is like there's just at least with the I don't know 400 of these I've done.
mhm.
Um, there's always been a tie to that. That could be who I attract. I don't know, but it is interesting that that's the dynamic of what I typically see drive success
Mm,
in entrepreneurs. And so let's go back. Let's do a bit of a rewind
okay.
and go back into what did things look like for you growing up that you think that, what were those drivers that drove you to today growing up, and the successes, failures, all those things, right?
Yeah.
Um, that have led you here today. I mean, let's unpack that little story right there, because
Right.
I bet you there's a ton of stuff to learn out of that for sure.
Exactly. So what literally made me an overachiever was mainly because in my life, when I grew up, my father was an alcoholic he was suffering from PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So with him suffering with that, a lot of the abuse that I suffered, the beatings and all those sorts of things, was out of what he wasn't dealing with himself because there was no therapy back then. So I would go outside and run the backyard. I would run the backyard about 100 times a day, just run to get like all of that anger out that was inside of me. And so what I learned from all of that was sometimes when you don't have someone to talk to, you have to find the nearest thing that gives you some type of solace, some type of peace, something that helps you. And once again, that was me being an overachiever. Instead of going in the backyard running 5 or 6 times around our backyard track, I would run 100 times because I'd push myself. But growing up, yes, I started being sexually molested at 4 and 5 years old
Mm,
by my father's alcoholic friends. um, that went all the way up until I was about 14 years old. My last punch in the face by my father was at 14. I had no protection from my mother because she was literally being abused in the home. And she was, like I said, being an enabler and trying to take care of 5 and 6 kids. What I also did learn from her in that was while all that was going on, she was still taking in neighbors' children, taking in families, feeding them, even though they were betraying her. Hate to say it, but they were sleeping with my father while
mm,
she was at work. And I watched a lot of things that I should not have watched. So it changed the dynamics of my life to say, this is not what I wanted. So everything that I went for, there was no love in my house. I was never told, I love you. Christmas came. I didn't get Christmas. It was almost like I was that Cinderella child, the one who
mm,
always had to do the dishes, do the cleaning. So in my life, the overachievement came from, I'm going to show you that what love really is. So I was in search of love, and that's what I did. I'm going to show you that I can take care of my family, and that's what I did. I'm going to show you that I can break this, as they call generational curse, on how to raise a family. And I raised my 3 daughters totally different from the way that I was brought up. And
mm,
then entrepreneurial spirit came from, I'm out here by myself with my 3 children. Now, what am I going to do? How can I make life better for them? How can I change the dynamics for them? And that's what I did. So every little thing that I could find that I could put my hands to, I would work it to the bone until it literally dried out. So, because my children's biological father was in prison when they were growing up, I started a prison ministry to give things, get letters from the inmates to give to their children, and that's called My Kind of Dad. And that thing
mhm.
is taken off. We give children Christmas because I didn't get Christmas. I give a huge Christmas
Sure.
because these parents are not able to connect with the children. Children that are abused, I know how to handle them. Children that are rejected because I was rejected. All the way up until the Lord literally restored my parents and I relationship in my 20s. Now, what I do is I take in foster children that have rejection issues. They don't have their parents. They just want to hear mom They want to hear their mother's voice. I love you, or dad, come on over
Mm,
here, son. I want to teach you how to throw this ball. What we do is we give them that because we're building something inside of them that they have not got from their parents. So I'm an
right.
overachiever at that. Everything
Sure.
that we do, just overachieving. So, like
So
I said,
I don't want this point to get lost because I call this it's like the challenge mentality, right?
Mhm,
And I don't want this point to get lost to the audience that's listening. And that is, because I'm the same way. A lot of people tell me all the time, you
mhm,
can't do that. That'll never work. This, that,
right,
and the other, right? And I always say, challenge freaking accepted, right? Right. And,
hallelujah,
and that's what I like about to where we are at this point is
right,
for you in your life, it's just been this constant challenge accepted, challenge accepted, challenge accepted, challenge accepted. And that's what's made you powerful in
right,
your mind
yeah,
and your soul of how passionate and a good person that you are.
yeah,
Because you can do all the good things in the world, but
mm,
if you ain't got it right up here or in here, right,
right,
it's I wouldn't say it's futile, but you're never gonna get the true result from it, right?
right,
And I didn't want that to be lost on the audience about what you
mm,
said, and just package that in a little different way. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you. Challenge accepted.
Touche. So tell me a little bit more about, my kind of dad. And I mean, how long has it been around? What kind of effects have you had with it? Because it's a fascinating nonprofit.
Yeah. So my kind of dad, let me tell you where it started from. When I got married to my husband, he's such a great man, like a loving, kind man. And I always see how he just takes the children and just gives them all the things that I never had. So one day I looked at him and I said, God, if I ever had to do this again, if I ever had to have a dad, you'd be the kind of dad that I wanted. I said, you'd be my kind of dad. And it's like, bing, that's it. I named my business My Kind of Dad, inspired by him. So what I do is I get letters from inmates and we give them to the children along with these 3 foot tall teddy bear balloons that I make by hand. We custom make them to what the children would love. We get it, and then we get the children together in a certain place, or we go and drop it off at the homes. When we get there, the children read their letters from their parent. We also give them keepsake boxes. So later on in life, or maybe they're in the bed and they just are longing to be with their parent, they can roll over and they can open that letter up and they can just read it. Kind of like like when you're a boy or a girl and you get a letter from one of them when you're 13 and you're just holding up. I mean, those words are powerful, right? I
Hmm.
thought about that, because a lot of people keep those in boxes. You see them later on in life talk about my first boyfriend gave me this letter,
Right.
and they climb up in the box, almost falling off the chair, and I just want you to read it. And so I thought about that thing and I said, these children need something to hold on to. They go to school, parents are at the car waiting for the children to come get in, and these other children have no parents waiting for them. So what I said was, let's put it in a keepsake box. When a balloon deflates, they have something that they got from the parent. And it's had such a great effect because not only that, we give Christmas to these children, and we don't only give them 2 or 3 presents, we give them like 30 or 40 presents. We fill their Christmas and we tell them that it's from their parent so we can continue to bridge the gap so a child doesn't feel like they're missing something and go out into the world and go do bad things to fill that void. So we try to fill that void for them. And I'm telling you, we give them Pampers, we give them money, we just help these families to succeed because I have one lady that has 5 grandchildren. She was just about to start living her life, just about to turn into that golden year 60, and both parents got put in prison.
Oh,
And
jeez.
now she is working a job. She's working a job, no food stamps, no social service, no any of that stuff. And she's taking care of these 5 children and she's struggling. So I made a winter wonderland in my house and I made it real bright and I put on Mariah Carey. I don't want a lot for Christmas. I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
all that, put about 4 or 5 trees up, and the kids just ran through the home. It was just so beautiful. I couldn't do a lot this year because of circumstances, but I don't care. I'm a creator, so I created something really beautiful for them. So the impact is very, very, very good and it's big. It really helps and change the life of the children in a way that they think when they
Yeah.
could have been thinking, God, mom and dad are both in prison, but now their minds were changed and that parent, the grandparent now, whenever I get extra money, I just give it to her. We get clothes for the kids, we just give it to them because these people are out here and their whole lives are now just taken away from them because the parents are not there for the children. The children are crying, they want their parents. And then
Hmm.
now the grandparent is now ready to live their life and flip up their heels on the beach somewhere, are now
Yeah.
working 2 jobs to take care of the children.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is, I mean, like you can't ever take for granted what even one smile will do because I mean, I spent a lot of years deployed in the military with kids and so on and so forth too. And so I'm very familiar with the letters in the box thing.
Yeah,
And the thing about it is if you can change a child's perception for just one day
yeah,
or just a few hours, I
right.
don't think a lot of times we understand the impact that actually has. It's a pretty big
Mhm.
impact for sure. And, you know, there again, awesome what you guys are doing.
Thank
I
you.
really applaud you for doing it. And
Thank you.
it's pretty amazing. There was a ton of, you look back on this conversation and think about, well, what are the learning points, right? And there's a ton
Yeah,
of them. And just for those hard heads that just maybe didn't catch it, right? If
yeah, yeah,
if you want, if we always have a couple in the audience that are the hard heads and didn't
right.
catch the lessons, right? So
Mhm.
if there was a couple mainstay lessons that you'd want to share, be it with business or be it with something with children, what would you, because either would be fine. You know what, let's go the opposite direction today and
Yes.
sit and go the direction of what is some mainstay pieces of advice you would give to parents out there that have challenging lives with their children.
Hmm. So first, let me piggyback off of what you said about a smile. You never know what that can do for a child.
Hmm.
There was a lady named Nina Mapes in my town, and my mom had shaved all my hair off when I was 9 years old, sent me to school, and I'm talking about bald as my hand.
Wow.
And yeah, it was horrible because I'm telling when I said I suffered a lot of abuse, it was a lot. Shaved all my hair off. I was 9, little girl, bald headed, going to school. And I just didn't feel good about myself because now they were teasing me, calling me the bald headed cook. And now everything about my little young life has now just flipped upside down. First, I will tell you, parents, please don't shave a little girl's hair off and send
Yeah.
her to school because the humiliation from that sent me into a world of rejection that I had to suffer with like basically all my life. So don't do things that's going to humiliate the child so bad that it's going to tarnish them. But to piggyback off of what you said, Nina Mapes used to say to me, "Oh my God," and I was little. Every time I saw her, she said, "I love your dimples, your dimples." And she named me Dimples. So I
Mm.
would find myself walking up to where she worked at the bank, literally just to hear her say, Dimples. I could cry just saying this. I mean, because my life story was just so horrific, but little things like that set my life like I'm gonna be 57 and I can still hear Nina Mate saying Dimples and you're so cute. That really helped me a whole lot. It changed my whole life. And even though when I got back home, I was being like the crap was being beat out of me. Like literally, I was being beat all the time. There was no CPS literally back then, not like that. But I was being
Mhm.
beat so much, but I would look to hear just that kind word with her beautiful smile. And she was so pretty. And she was calling me, who felt so ugly, cute, and dimples. So you're right. You never know what a smile or a kind word can do. Forget the presents, forget the letters. I was just walking to the bank just to hear her say. And when I saw her come into our neighborhood, I made it my business to get in her presence just to hear it.
Yeah.
It was the best. It was
It's
like
a
the little dog at the door, you know,
yeah,
mom
yeah.
dad's coming home and the little tail is wagging like, that was
Right.
me.
Yeah,
That
sure.
little small gesture, just
Mhm.
that's all. And I would just tell parents, honestly, if this is something that you're doing or have done, I would say get some therapy. Stop. Literally, you can stop doing what you're doing today. Everything that you did that was negative that you cannot change, you can stop today, apologize to your children, and let them know that you're going to change to do better. I remember I used to scream because I had a lot of stuff inside of me as I was trying to change to, make my life better for my children.
Mhm.
I would always be screaming, get in here, get. And, I just didn't realize how much it was really affecting them. And it was like, Mom, stop screaming at us. And they were teenagers, right? One day I said, I can go to work. Here's some good advice. I said, if I can go to work and deal with my boss at the mortgage company every day, deal with the people calling in every day, and I'm not screaming at them, that means I have the ability to come home and not release my crap on my children.
Mhm.
So I went with my church one day and they had a bonfire. And I wrote down on a piece of paper that I will no longer scream at my children when I come home. I'm going to respect them as I respect the people on my job. I went and I took that piece of paper and I threw it into the fire. And when I threw it into the fire, the symbolization and a manifestation of what I wanted came together. And I stopped screaming at my kids. And I came home
Mhm.
and I started respecting them. And in the interim of that, I said, I want to apologize. It's something that I was suffering with, and I'm sorry. And I did. I said I was sorry. And then guess what? We moved on. And then my daughter was telling me, as now that they're older, they said, Mom, when other kids scream around the house or they're yelling or they're fighting, you know how kids are, because I do foster
Mhm.
care. She
Sure.
said, guess what she said to me? She said, Mom, that's a trigger for you. And I'm still learning. That's another thing, parents. We're
Yeah.
still learning. I have not arrived. Just when I thought I've arrived and I'm the best parent, I'm doing a great job. She says, Mom, those kids, when they're screaming like that or hollering, and she said, that's a trigger for you. And it brought me back to, oh, okay, let me work on that. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
except that
yeah,
we're still learning.
yeah. And I mean, I look at it this. I'm a lifelong learner, so it's not like that never stops for me. And
Yeah.
I don't even think as humans we were built that way, right?
Yeah.
And why? Because we're constantly evolving and we're
Exactly.
constantly figuring out new innovative ways to do many things.
Right.
That could be parenting, that could be how we interact at school or how we interact at church or how we
Right.
interact anywhere that we go. And I honestly, I don't ever want to arrive because
Yeah.
that sounds like death.
Yeah.
So,
Well, just when I thought I've mastered it,
yeah,
there's a
right.
whole nother degree out there you got to go get.
Sure. Yeah, it's a whole new dimension you never even thought of, right? And
Yeah.
that really is a really good place to be for sure. So
Yeah.
anyway, I know the philanthropy side of what you do is super important. And so I want to honor and make sure that our audience has the opportunity to reach out to you and donate. I think that's super important to give that opportunity. Where would you want people to go to do that?
To the bank with a check. No. So there's a couple ways. Okay. So one of the things that I do, I work with sharing the credit.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the ways that they can go to sharing the credit with Will Black. I do have a QR code that they can click on to, and they can donate that way. Or they can find me on my website, MichelleElizabethWilliams.com. They can go there and they can donate. That website tells everything about me. It has a plethora of things of from who I am to what I do. Everything is there. Like
Yeah.
Prego, almost like the spaghetti sauce is all in there.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. If you wouldn't have mentioned spaghetti sauce, the younger generation wouldn't have got that one.
Right, right. Like Prego, is that related to Lego?
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Well, hey, I love to end the show with um a little bit of a thought and challenging, provoking question, right? And that is, if you could have invited anyone here today, any point on the planet's timeline, dead or alive, doesn't matter, who would have you loved to have here to either just listen in or have a conversation, and
I just
why
want to
them?
put my whole face right in the camera and say, Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey.
Oh my God.
That's a new one. Nobody's ever said Oprah.
Oh my God. Oprah Winfrey. I absolutely love and adore her. She's gone through a lot of the things that I've gone through.
Hmm.
And her and Maya Angelou kind of connect because it's like if I could like break it here, if I had two people, Maya Angelou would be one, but Oprah's here. But I absolutely love her. And I just watched her just achieve and achieve and achieve and give back and achieve and open up a girls' school, which I would love to open up a girls'
Hmm.
place. I would love to do that. Right now, we work with all boys, but I would just love to do it. Watching her is just amazing, and there was plenty of times I sat in my living room when I didn't know which way to go, and the Oprah show would come on, and she would give me the push that I needed when I'd be laying there crying from the things that I was going through. So I would actually just love to meet her, hug her. She's an
Hmm.
amazing woman, and I love her energy. I love everything about her. Just love her.
It's another classic example of challenge accepted.
If you know her, let's get this challenge going. Let's get this
Yeah.
party started right.
Oh man, that's too
Hey,
funny.
I love it.
That
She's
is funny.
she's amazing. I'd love to meet her. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, amazing episode. And I always say we all have the same 168 hours in a week.
Hmm.
Thanks for stopping by here for a good, actually 30 minutes. That's
Oh, thank
usually
you.
longer than my sessions go. And, but that lends to the person behind the camera. And, I love to, when it's a great conversation, I will let it run and let it run and let it run. So thank you for sharing your story and giving us a little peek into what's made you tick and what's made you successful from the heart. And
Yeah.
that's what really matters.
I just appreciate you. Thank you for having me, and just thank you for taking out time to even hear my story. I appreciate that. I don't
Yeah.
take anything for granted at all.
Nor do I. And I hope that those that do listen get a lot of lessons out of this. And yeah, it'll be amazing for sure. So
I believe so.
awesome. Well, cheers.
Thanks for listening to War Room Moments with your host, Jason Miller. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.